A yellow weather warning, or at least there was last night, for snow and ice across parts of the United Kingdom. To tell us more, I'm delighted to welcome Joe Wheeler, Talks meteorologist. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, David.
I've missed you.
I know, I've missed being there as well. But it doesn't mean to say I've stopped watching the weather, because I'm always across that. And certainly this week is looking interesting. It's like us weather people have literally woken up from a coma, because the last 2 or 3 weeks, high pressure, so tedious. It's been a cloudy high pressure as well. It's just every single day the same cloudy skies. And now we are going to see a bit of a change. And that change comes in the form of this little weedy area of rain which is working its way southwards today, but is drawing in colder air. And that's not the first lot of colder air. There's further to come. Now, the interesting thing is, from a meteorological point of view, is once we have cold air across the country and something tries to move in from the Atlantic, so this is usually milder and moister. So it's usually carrying quite a lot of moisture with it, whether that's rain or snow. That way depends to be seen. But ultimately it meets up with that cold air, and that's when you get snow on the leading edge. And it looks like forming a little low, which will then kind of spiral its way across the country and should spread that snow somewhere else. So at the moment, you're right, there are warnings out for northern parts of Scotland, also central southern Scotland, northern England, because it looks like this is the most likely area that will encounter this milder system from the west whilst it's got cold air over it. But by the time we get to Wednesday, Thursday, the cold air is across the country. We're looking at daytime temperatures of just 5 or 6 in a northerly wind, so that's going to feel pretty cold. We need something to move through that to give us snow, but we are likely to see some coastal showers. And, of course, overnight we could also see some frost, some ice, maybe some fog as well. So suddenly, out of the blue, we've got all these winter problems.
And as you say, that makes you very happy. It doesn't make commuters very happy, though, does it?
No, it certainly won't be very good for that. I mean, at the moment, if this low coming in takes the track that it does, we are looking kind of Edinburgh down to Northumberland, really. Northern Pennines potentially likely to see some snow as well, so watch out with the Snake Pass, the Woodhead Pass. In the south, we could just see some very heavy rain, and then it turns colder. So, I mean, when we talk about snow and ice, everybody gets excited. But, of course, it's not everybody that's going to be affected.
Certainly, it does feel a lot colder in the sticks where I live. So I've had to light my log fire. Just in terms of that, is this abnormal? I mean, it is winter.
No. Why would it be abnormal?
No.
The only thing that's unusual about the weather so far, the fact that we've had this high pressure across the country has given us an incredibly quiet start to November, and probably one of the driest as well. And in fact, all things being equal, that high pressure is still kind of with us. It's slipped away to the west, but it starts to build back in, which is why once this system has gone through, if things settle down again, we're just looking at coastal showers on north-facing coasts. And inland areas will probably see some beautiful bright sunshine, even though the temperatures are so low. I think there's a bit of a change in store for the end of the month, but I'm always guilty of looking too far ahead. But that does look a little bit milder and pretty wet and windy.
I've spoken to you about this before in the past, but just in terms of the modelling now, the computer modelling of the weather systems, how far ahead can you now see?
For the stuff that's further ahead, we rely on an awful lot of indicators that aren't just in the modelling. But, of course, now we're kind of cleverer than clever, because once we kind of went from looking at each individual plotted weather chart across the country, linking them all together with lines of pressure and working out where things were going, we started taking data from buoys out at sea. We take data from ships. We take data from planes. And now, of course, with computers, we also compare. And that's where some uncertainty comes in, because if you've got, say, 20, 25 different computers running the same information that come out with different answers, and that is the problem, that this is where it becomes difficult to determine the track of something, because whilst we think it's going to go here, somebody else thinks it's going to go there. And you end up trying to take the averages and say, OK, we're kind of in agreement with this, so we think this is what's going to happen. As I say, the longer-term stuff is much more indicated by other signals.
Yeah. And just in terms of this, in your experience, are you seeing changes in the weather patterns at all, or is this sort of we're in the normal phase of where we should be?
I don't think it's a pretty normal phase.
Yeah.
I mean, it's autumn. If you see snow this week, it will be early for snow. I mean, autumn is all about, those bright, frosty mornings, misty, moisty mornings, fog, that kind of thing.
Lovely.
I used to ride horses. It's classic riding weather.
Yes.
And then interspersed with that, you get the wet and windy stuff, and then you don't take your horse out because they don't like a bit of wind in their tail, and you're likely to get home quicker than you wanted to.
I'd forgotten that you're an avid rider.
Yeah. So these are the things that you expect in autumn for sure. I think the only surprising bit of this year's weather for me is there's been so little sunshine. I don't understand why we've seen so little sunshine.
Yeah, horrid. But also 39 days to go, Joe, until Christmas. So is it a white Christmas?
Do you know something? I have been watching. There is a site that does go that far ahead. But of course, it's so likely to be wrong. It's not even worth it.
And come on, what does it say? This is not from you. It's from the site.
The last time I looked at it, it did show it was going to be quite wintry down the East Coast. So that's you and me.
Yeah. Excellent, Joe. Always such a pleasure to talk to you.
Could easily change.
I know. But on the East Coast, it's where where everyone should be. Joe, thanks ever so much. Really good to talk to you. Joe Wheeler there, talks meteorologist.